Yeah. Hello, wonderful viewers. How are you all doing today? I hope you're all doing okay. Oh, yeah. Well, oh, well. It's a wonderful thing to be here once again. Huh? To continue with what we did yesterday. So, the broadcast, or perhaps the topic of the broadcast for today is this one that I'm touching on. This one. Yeah. All right. Says military hostilities in Ivory Coast. Coup rumored. So, in this continuing part of this program, we are going to dig a little bit deeper into it because yesterday we are on the side of what is actually going on or perhaps going down in the United States as we speak. You know, it has to do with the Nigerian situation, the illegal removal of Nigerians back to Nigeria from the US. This is a neat surgical operation carried out by the Trump administration on Nigerians, specifically targeting Nigerians. And I wouldn't blame the Trump administration for whatever that's going on in the United States. Because the Nigerians, let's get this straight. When stupidity has a foundation, it becomes a culture. Once it becomes a culture, it becomes a national heritage. That is how Nigeria is. When you see something and you say it out the way it should be said, the only people that will rise up against you to stop your voice from putting out the truth are the same victims. And they are usually the Nigerians. There was a character assassination and defamation of Nigerians going on in the United States. Some sort of media section, they made it as a rumor, accusing the Nigerians of false things. It's false allegation, you know. And the Nigerian community in the United States is one of the most law-abiding communities in the US. Every single appointment they ever have with the government regards their status in the US, they attend it. They go, even court cases, they are always there regularly. So it is easy to track them. So now, this character defamation started in the US. They say the Nigerians, they are causing nuisance in the US. They take benefits, this support benefit for those that don't work, and so on and so forth. All this accusation grew against the Nigerians. And above all, that they are taking the jobs of Americans. Nigerian community in America, I'm not sure it's up to the Indian or the Chinese community. Okay. India as a country alone produces 1 million engineers every year. That is according to the data or statistics of 2 or 3 years ago. So every year India improves. So right now, definitely India produces more than 1 million engineers. And 60% of those engineers are in the United States. A large group of Nigerians. In fact, let's just say 90% of the Nigerians, they all have legit work that they do in the US. 90. And at least 40 to 60% of Nigerians, they work in offices that are, in the upper class offices. Yeah, let's just put it that way. You have them in the tech industry, you have them in the medical industry, nursing, hospitality and management. You have them everywhere, including sports. and they are doing well. But how come will a group of people like that be so foolish? You know why? Because foolishness is encrypted in their DNA. When the rumors came up, no single Nigerian challenged it. You know, there is something that we used to do. The moment we cite these things, even if it's a Chinese whisper, a rumor, a gossip, the moment we pick it, we try to blow it up for people, calling the attention of people to look there and verify it and kill it. The rumor has to be killed and displaced or disposed as a lie that wants to destroy your identity. But when you say it, it is the same Nigerians that will rise up against you. Huh? They are the same ones that will come out and say, what you are saying is false. Huh? They will speak against you. They don't care whatever that happens, you know? I'm trying to get back the program of yesterday, and let's see what happens. That's what we are trying to do now. So we can legitimately continue from that side where we stopped yesterday. Let's continue. I will get it back on the screen now so that we can all see it. So in the meanwhile, I'll let this very one play. I'll just let it be on the background, or perhaps I will let it play so that we can actually see what's going on. All right? So, as we are saying, instead of the Nigerians to challenge it, they let it slide. They let it slide. And, you know, they said, a stitch in time saves 9. If these Nigerians have taken their time to challenge such lies, there's no two ways it would have gone out of proportion. There's no two ways. It would have been nipped in the bud instantly. But they let it slide. Why would they let it slide? Probably because they are Nigerians. Huh? Probably because they are Nigerians. That is why they let it slide. I have seen it. So we are going to play it now. Huh? So when they let it slide, what happened? What happened was shocking. No? It was shocking. Now, they are removing Nigerians for no good reason. We are going to play it immediately because we don't want to take time. Illegally. So the other day, when we discussed about this thing, where we met, or perhaps where we had to discuss about it, I saw a whole lot of Nigerians say it is not possible. America, they have laws. They have one thing or the other. America is not like that. Hey, you cannot try it. People have mortgages. People have children and so on. That it cannot be done. It's America. And some time ago, something like this, similar, happened in South Africa. That they deported Nigerians. A flight went into South Africa, took lots of Nigerians, I believe well over 500, 700, thereabouts. Took them back home. And the information came out. The same Nigerians said it is not possible. How can they just deport people without people knowing? There is what is called surgical operation. They'll make it silent. No media, no microphone, no journalist, nothing. Just silent. And you see these stupid things called Nigeria arguing what they don't know until they become victims. That is why they are victims today in America. They are not the Chinese. They are not the Indians. They are not the Mexicans committing crime. These people are legit. So now, for such a gang up to happen to a class of people, technocrats, like that, it shows that even your best technocrats, educated ones, they are useless. How did the Nigerians manage to know? Suddenly, disappearance started happening in the communities. Someone that you used to see regularly, you don't see them anymore. Regardless of how many decades you have lived in the US, you don't see them anymore. Why? An allegation came up against them, but they debunked it as useless, that it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean a thing. It cannot happen. And it's happening right now. You know, South Africa will not say anything about it. That is why this is what's his name again? Ramaphosa. They won't say anything about it. They'll say, oh, South Africans are now, I believe the ones that would have gotten the information will be happy. Oh, they are deporting them. Let us go and look for them in South Africa and deport. Guys, listen. It is the same skin color. They don't know who you are. Whatever that hits the Nigerian hard will also hit you hard. Because this is a rallying point where people should come up and say, what you people are doing is wrong. Nigeria is a litmus test where they want to test any stupidity when it comes to credibility. They test it on Nigerians and it works. Then they use it globally on everyone. It will work both on South Africa. When the heat gets to them, they will complain, but no one will listen. It's as normal as that. Since you cannot say anything about it, it's none of our business. It has nothing to do with us. Even as we are saying this now, lots of Nigerians will still come out, that is fake news. Even if you show them the evidence, they will still say it's fake news. You know, the Nigerians are so stupid to a fault that if you bring the truth to them, they will request for evidence. When you go the extra mile to give them the evidence, they throw it away and they say, God is there. We will just pray and everything will be fine. Then they will die. And the next thing, they will cry and say, God, why me? The next thing they will say, oh, it was in my destiny to die. God already destined me to die. Look at how stupid some people are. Meanwhile, this is what's his name? Ramaphosa, as he was ambushed in the US. We'll talk about Ramaphosa, but we are not going to Ramaphosa now. We are going to the Nigerian side. Here the shit went down. This is it. So we start from here early and see how we'll be able to run it. First and foremost, we are going to, maybe we'll fast track some sides or we'll just let it play so that those that missed it yesterday will be able to follow up today. But we are not going to do that. So it is up to you. The call is on you to go and track what happened in the previous program and watch. So we'll fast track this one a little bit. Let's see how it goes.
With sirens. They came quietly. Urge. Let's find out. They didn't break down the doors. They didn't arrive with sirens. They came quietly, in unmarked vans, in plain clothes, sometimes even with smiles. In early 2025, something strange began to ripple through Nigerian communities across the United States. It wasn't broadcast on the news. It didn't trend online. But word of mouth spread fast in places like Houston's Little Lagos, the Bronx's Yoruba enclaves, and the bustling African neighborhoods of Maryland. People were vanishing, not into the night, but into immigration vans, courthouse side doors, and lockdown holding facilities. And no one could explain why the names being called were almost always Nigerian. At first, it was one person here, two people there. A man who went to his monthly ICE check-in and never returned. A woman who dropped her kids at school and never made it to work. Then came the phone calls. Desperate, urgent. They got me. They're sending me back. Call my family. And still, no one in the mainstream media said a word. What made this wave different was its silence. There were no high-profile raids or televised deportation flights. Instead, it unfolded like a whisper campaign, precise, quiet, and surgical. The targets? Nigerians with unresolved visa issues, expired documents, pending asylum cases, or minor administrative violations. No violent charges, no serious felonies, just unfinished paperwork. In many cases, these individuals lived in the US for years, some even decades. They had American-born children, mortgages, jobs, and deep roots in their communities. Yet none of that seemed to matter. One by one, they were marked for removal. The calls started reaching Nigerian embassies by February. A pattern was forming. People of the same nationality, from different states, all being detained with shocking coordination. It wasn't just ICE doing the groundwork. In several reports, local law enforcement began cooperating with federal agents, acting on signed detainers even when immigration status had nothing to do with the original arrest. What confused many Nigerians was how they were identified in the first place. Some had pending appeals. Others were still in court, yet they were picked up anyway. Immigration lawyers later revealed that final removal orders had quietly been signed in bulk in late January, shortly after President Trump signed an executive memorandum expanding expedited removals. Behind those policy moves was a deeper strategy: clean the system quickly, efficiently, and quietly. Nigerians, who ranked high in visa overstay statistics due to complex renewals and backlog issues, became prime targets, not because they were dangerous, but because they were vulnerable and statistically available. In detention, the story was worse. People who had never been in handcuffs were suddenly placed in jumpsuits, denied access to phones, and relocated to remote ICE facilities with barely any notice. Families were left scrambling, contacting embassies, searching for lawyers, and launching GoFundMe campaigns. But the pace of arrests outstripped the system's ability to respond. The machinery had already started. At one Texas detention center, a 33-year-old Nigerian man who overstayed a student visa by just 4 months was placed in the same unit as individuals with serious felony charges. His only crime was overstaying, a technical violation, but he was denied bond because his deportation was already scheduled, a fast-track list. The most haunting detail, however, wasn't the arrests. It was the fear that followed. Even those who weren't on the deportation list began disappearing, voluntarily. Parents stopped sending their children to school. Students dropped out of college mid-semester. Workers resigned from their jobs without explanation. Churches reported a drop in attendance. Clinics stopped seeing Nigerian patients who feared registration would alert authorities. It was as if an entire community had gone into hiding. For every person detained, dozens more began to self-isolate, afraid they might be next. Some fled to Canada. Others simply vanished within the US, disconnecting their phones, moving out overnight, or taking shelter with distant relatives in smaller cities. And the fear wasn't just emotional, it was strategic. ICE had started using community presence operations, visiting workplaces, courthouses, or apartment buildings with informal lists, asking about specific individuals. Friends of detainees were being questioned, landlords were approached, church members were quietly watched. It was no longer about enforcement. It was intimidation by visibility. What made this all the more devastating was how invisible it remained to the rest of the world. There were no hashtags, no global outrage, no trending videos. For most Americans, it wasn't even happening. And for most Nigerians outside the US, it was unthinkable. Until that is, news broke that 3,690 Nigerians were listed for imminent deportation, and the first plane was getting ready. That's when Nigeria itself had to ask a chilling question. Why are so many of our people being targeted all at once? And what forces, political, economic, or diplomatic, made them the first in line? That question takes us deeper, not just into the how, but into the why. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Not Guatemalans, not Chinese, not Ukrainians, not even Mexicans, who have historically topped deportation statistics. In 2025, under a revamped U.S. immigration policy, it's Nigerians who are being detained with eerie precision. But this isn't random. This is calculated policy engineering, driven by data, strategy, and a new kind of political theater. Behind every ICE raid, every courtroom signature, and every van door slammed shut is a logbook of metrics. The Trump administration, back in office as of January 2025, wasted no time in weaponizing that data. One particular chart caught the attention of White House advisors. Nigerians represented a disproportionately high percentage of visa overstays and asylum denials relative to other African and non-African nationalities. In 2024 alone, 3,690 Nigerians were recorded as having final removal orders. These were not mere illegal entrants. Most of them had entered legally, as students, work, or tourist visas, and overstayed due to reasons ranging from job loss to education disruptions. But to Trump's team, they were statistically low-hanging fruit. And here's the twist. Unlike many immigrants who evade detection, Nigerians often do everything by the book. They file for extensions. They attend court dates. They register for social programs, which means they're easily traceable. A paper trail leads right to their doorstep. And in the new immigration war, visibility is vulnerability. But policy is never just about numbers. It's about optics. Trump had returned to office on the promise of restoring America's borders, a slogan meant to signal more than just physical security. It was a cultural call to purify America of what his base viewed as freeloaders, foreign threats, and non-white others who had benefited under previous democratic reforms. And in the post-COVID, economically strained America of 2025, that messaging landed hard. Within that narrative, Nigerians became the perfect scapegoats. Why? Because their story is complicated. Unlike Central American migrants fleeing gangs or Syrians escaping war zones, Nigerians don't always fit the refugee mold. Many are highly educated. They speak fluent English. They attend Ivy League schools. They're visible in healthcare, tech, and academia.
Now, let's stop it there. You see, Nigerians are highly educated. They speak fluent English and so on. But they know that Nigerians are educated and they speak fluent English. You see them in Ivy League, they are in the tech, medical, and so on and so forth, industries. Huh? But when they want to get into schools in America, they force them to write TOEFL. They force them to write IELTS, English-based exams. They use it to extricate money from their hands. Though they know that Nigerians are very good with English language. The Nigerians speak fluently. There is no need for a Nigerian student to write the exam TOEFL or TOEFL or IELTS, any of the English exam that you want to think of, CELTA, and so on, So they know, yet Nigerians will write that exam. Nigerians will go, work in solid places, they capture them like criminals and remove them. After spending all the money on your exams, on the school system, and so on, you capture them. You remove them. Then you now take white farmers from South Africa. You sent a plane to South Africa to move people over to replace them. Can't you see? But when we say things like this, you see the animals called Nigerians coming out to argue. No, it didn't happen like that. It is because of something got wrong here. They always look for excuse to support their foolishness. And the saddest part of it all is that when you see someone, a fool, giving you a perfect reason why they remain fools, or why they are fools, you leave them alone. They will pay in a very sad way. Nnamdi Kanu came out to do something. Majority of these people that are being deported now in America are the same ones that rose up against him. They spoke against him. Many of the Nigerians suffering in diaspora today, I can bet that 80% of them, they were never in support of Nnamdi Kanu, but they are being abused globally and they can't do a thing about it. But they have the strength to fight their own that will come out to speak for them. You see, the news came up like a Chinese whisper. And they did nothing. And the worst part is that they are easily traceable. You can track them any day, anytime. Now they are on the run. Continue.
In short, they succeeded. And for a certain political audience, that success feels threatening. In conservative media circles, Nigerian success stories are often warped into anti-immigrant talking points. They take the scholarships, they crowd our hospitals, they use fake marriages to stay, they say. Right-wing outlets began circulating misleading data in early 2025, claiming that Nigerian immigrants were abusing the asylum system, despite there being no such statistical trend.
You heard that? That right-wing groups started claiming that Nigerians are abusing asylum system. Nigerians they are crowding the hospital. How will Nigerians crowd the hospital of United States? The percentage of Nigerians in America, they are not even up to 1 or 2%. Let's just say 1%. Like China, that has at least 5%, a sizable amount with India. Countries that their population is over 1.3 billion people. And from the 1.3 billion people, they have like 20 million Indians in America. The last one that Trump was talking about, that he has to remove 2 million Indians officially. Calculate the 2 million Indians to Nigeria and let us see how many Nigerians are in America. Now they said a damning information came out that Nigerians are overcrowding the hospital. How? When you say this thing, the so-called Nigerian intellectuals, foolish things that went to school, Julio called them educated fools with money in their hand. The foolish things, they will never say a thing about it. They will never. They will tell you it is a lie. Do you know who we are? We are God's people. It is not possible. That which is not possible is possible now. It's happening. What are you idiots doing? Running rat race, according to Majek Fashek or Raskimono. Rat race everywhere. They are running. They are no longer talking. This information came out. Look at the information on your screen. They didn't say anything about it. They did not challenge it. You know, they said silence to something means you are in agreement with it. Since they are silent, then Trump said it could be true. You know, every time Trump would do like this. Trump said it could be true. They targeted the Nigerians, but they made it surgical. No media, no social media, no media, including social media post, no hashtag. It wasn't trending. It was a quiet operation. Quiet operation. And we believe it's still ongoing now. We believe it's still ongoing now. The Nigerians now, they are running with their tails in between their legs. Where they are meant to talk, they won't say anything about it. If you see this video, you share it. And if you want to talk rubbish, it is your fucking business. We don't care. But the truth will have to go out that way. Look at the information on your screen. The Nigerians were quiet. If that thing is just rumor. That which is rumor is costing you people something. Oh, they did it in South Africa. A plane came, took away lots of Nigerians. Leave that thing, it is just rumor. It's just social media. Anything can happen. Yes, anything can happen truly. Because the problem has not come to your side. Lots of the people, they were shot dead, When you tell them, they say, no, it's not possible. After this, I'm going to play another statistical one for you from Gravitas. They said in South Africa alone last year, it was recorded that 72,000 people were murdered officially. We are not talking of unofficially. 72,000 people were shot dead in South Africa. 72. When you say it, people will deny it. Then next thing, Nigeria will say, leave that thing. They just said it. It's a lie. If they shoot people down like that, it means everybody in the country would have finished. That's the mentality of the Nigerians. That's why they are so useless. Very useless. And they are perfect in being useless. They will hear something. Even if you bring the truth to them, they will tell you that it's a lie. And they will go there, they will shoot them. From this 72,000, we are sure that if Nigeria will do their homework, Nigerian government will do their homework well, I can bet it that half of the ones that were shot dead were Nigerians. It's a sad thing. Continue.
So when Trump's team designed their tiered enforcement priority list, Nigerians were placed not at the bottom, but somewhere dangerously near the top. And there was one more reason. Nigeria is diplomatically weak in the U.S. immigration negotiation game. Countries like India or China often push back hard when their citizens are targeted. They delay travel document issuance. They threaten trade retaliation. Nigeria, while a giant in Africa, doesn't wield that kind of leverage in Washington. It doesn't have the trade threat capacity, nor does it contribute meaningfully to U.S. manufacturing supply chains. So when America asks, will you accept a plane load of deportees next week? Nigeria usually nods. By February 2025, the White House had quietly signed agreements with at least 6 compliant countries to fast-track the deportation of their nationals. Nigeria was one of them. There were no press releases, no signing ceremonies, just logistics teams and deportation flights on standby. This compliance made Nigeria a testing ground. If the U.S. could detain and deport hundreds of Nigerians quickly and cleanly, it could roll out similar operations on other cooperative African and Caribbean nations. And there was something else fueling the machine: internal politics in Nigeria itself. Faced with growing youth unemployment, an overstretched social sector, and a crumbling naira, Nigerian authorities were secretly.
You heard that? That it was a testing ground for the US. They had to test it on Nigeria. Let us test it. If the US can sign it secretly and it worked out, then that means they can do it on any other country. It's working. I haven't heard of the other countries they are doing it on, but it's just Nigeria. Oh, let us just test it on Nigeria. We'll use it on other people later. They will never ever use it on any person. It will remain permanently on the Nigerians. They will keep doing it. They will keep doing it. Every country, whenever they want to test one rubbish, they will use Nigerians to test it. Then when they test it, instead of the Nigerian government to react, they say, why you self take good here? Why you take good here? Let us go and pray to God and hear what God has to say about it. Nigeria will never respond. Diplomatically, they will never respond. Shame on them.
Grateful to receive fewer remittance-dependent returnees than expected. Quietly, officials viewed deported.
Now, other countries will start up administrative bottleneck and pressure on US. They will refuse to sign the papers. But Nigeria, instantaneously, will go ahead and sign the paper quickly. Oh, then catch you. Oh, yeah, can't they go house? They'll sign the paper. Even when countries like India or China will refuse to even give travel certificates or documents, Nigeria will produce one immediately right there within minutes and hand over. Take him to Nigeria. Take him away, or take her away. That is how it is. Back in those days, in Scotland, in England, we went on a trip here from Scotland. There is this woman. She had 2 sons in England, and both of her sons, they were in Operation Desert Storm, fighting for the British Army. The immigration went home, captured their mother, deported their mother as illegal. As illegal. Can you imagine? It only can happen to Nigerians. Here, people that they are deported, they all have their papers. They have been there for long. Now, they don't even want to know. So long as you're a Nigerian, bam, they capture you. They throw you. And nothing will happen. The Nigerian government is radio silent about this thing. About it. And when we say it, our people say it's a lie. Who doubts it? The Nigerians. What is happening?
Faced with growing youth unemployment, an overstretched social sector, and a crumbling naira, Nigerian authorities were secretly grateful to receive fewer remittance-dependent returnees than expected. Quietly, officials viewed deported citizens as a workforce they could eventually plug into domestic initiatives. Some in government even believed returnees could help fill labor gaps created by recent immigration waves to Europe and Canada. But whatever the justification, the effect was chilling. Being Nigerian in America became a liability overnight. For the thousands now marked for removal, it didn't matter how long they'd been in the U.S., whether they had families or if they were tax-paying workers. A final removal order, even from a years-old visa issue, was now enough to activate arrest and deportation. And behind those orders wasn't just ICE. It was an entire federal apparatus, lubricated by politics, image control, and selective enforcement. But targeting is just the beginning. Once identified, Nigerians are taken into a hidden world few understand. A network of detention centers, deportation charters, and silence. They vanish into the system only to reappear weeks later, sometimes in Lagos, sometimes in Abuja, with nothing but the clothes on their backs. So what does this deportation machine look like from the inside? Once a Nigerian is flagged for removal, the story doesn't end. It just moves underground. What follows is not a trial, not a debate, but a procedure. The kind that runs 24/7, far from courtrooms and TV cameras. In this world, the deportation process is not about crime or justice. It's logistics. It's booking numbers, coded documents, silent transfers, and human beings treated as administrative cargo. The system begins with a form, the Notice of Custody Determination. Once that's signed, the person is no longer just an immigrant. They are a removable subject, someone whose presence in the United States is now legally invalid. And from that moment forward, every decision about them is made without their consent. The lucky ones are sent to designated ICE holding centers. The unlucky? Transferred to private detention contractors, massive facilities run by corporations profiting from the federal government's deportation contracts. These aren't like jails. They're worse in one way. You're not convicted of anything, yet you have fewer rights. Inside, Nigerians face a stark reality. They are isolated linguistically and culturally. Few detention staff understand Yoruba, Igbo, or Hausa. Medical requests are often delayed. Food is bland and unfamiliar. Phone calls are rationed. Some detainees have described going days without access to their lawyers. And when meetings do happen, they're brief, squeezed into 5-minute windows in crowded rooms with bulletproof glass. For the 85 Nigerians who were cleared for deportation earlier this year, the wait has become a psychological trap. Some have been sitting in these centers for weeks, even though their removal orders were finalized. Why the delay? Because deportation flights are scheduled like supply runs, only when the numbers hit a certain threshold. Until then, they remain in limbo. Some were taken while attending school, others from hospitals, a few from workplaces. Their belongings? Confiscated and stored in labeled plastic bags. They are given standard issue clothes, and their legal identity, passport, visa, ID, becomes irrelevant. These centers are not uniform. In some states, detainees are treated with minimal respect. In others, abuses are routine. Former detainees have reported use of solitary confinement, physical intimidation, and deliberate medical neglect, especially toward African detainees who question orders. And because deportation is not a criminal sentence, detainees have no guaranteed right to bail. They are stuck until the flight arrives. When that flight comes, it's not announced with dignity. There's no advance notice. Sometimes it's a whisper in the hallway. Sometimes it's a 4 a.m. knock on the cell door. You have 10 minutes, no phone calls, no goodbyes, no closure. You're given one set of clothes, often not your own. You're shackled, wrists, ankles, waist, escorted by armed guards, and placed in the belly of a chartered plane. These flights, often operated by ICE's Air Operations Division, run under high secrecy. Flight schedules are not public, families are not informed. In some cases, Nigerian consulates are notified only after the person has landed. The actual flights are as sterile as the process that precedes them. No announcements, no destination screens, no human warmth. Just paperwork, silence, and a journey to a home many haven't seen in years, or don't even remember. And what about the moment of arrival? Contrary to the assumption, deportees are not handed over to family members waiting at the airport. They are met by Nigerian immigration authorities, processed again, questioned again, and in some cases, transferred to separate facilities if their cases involved any criminal allegations in the U.S., even if they were non-violent or never proven. These processing centers in Nigeria aren't prisons, but they're not exactly welcoming either. There is no national reception program for returnees, no counselors, no translators, no mental health support, just forms, fingerprints, and bureaucrats. And then, they're let go. No transport, no housing, no guarantee of reintegration. Some are lucky. The family picks them up. Friends offer help, but many wander out of the airport alone, with no SIM card, no local currency, and nowhere to go. For people who left Nigeria in their teens or 20s and who are now returning in their 30s or 40s, this isn't going home. It's time travel into a country that moved on without them. There is also the deeper pain of stigma. In many
Now you heard that. Hmm? If you left in your teens or early 20s, huh? Now they are deporting you in your mid 40s stroke early 50s. That means you've been in the US for over 2 decades, 3 decades, 2 to 3 decades. They just bundle you. They don't want to know your immigration status. They just bundle you. So long as you're in Nigeria, you will get bundled. Next thing you see yourself at the airport. Next thing you see yourself in Nigeria. And that's that. The moment you go, your bank account, your buildings, your mortgages, everything, it's gone. It's gone. They now tag you in a way that you can never, ever get back to the US again. Not to talk of, oh, I have money, I have this, I have that in the US. All that thing is bullcrap. These are things that is avoidable, that Nigerians should put up a fight for. But they wouldn't do it. Nigerian content makers should be saying things about this, something like this, but they wouldn't do it. They are there being foolish, extremely foolish. They are there looking for Ibrahim Traore to drag online like Reno Omokri and Deji Adeonju. They are there looking for shows to go and perform in Burkina Faso like Bona Idiots called Bona Boy and the Very Dark Man, looking for how to go to Burkina Faso and dance. And dance. Black man, black brain. Very stupid. These are things that they should learn. How to follow up issues in an administrative way, officially. When it comes to legal issues, these are the ways, the steps to go. The Nigerians will never do it. They will never do it. Next thing you see, they're talking trash. Every minute, trash talkers. Trash. Then when we come out to address issues like this, you see them rise up to counter and challenge. Many of them will start doing programs like this. Oh, we need to counter this guy. He's talking so much rubbish. Yes, it is rubbish. But those that will learn, will learn. The program is not meant for you because I know that it is difficult to convince a pig to live in a clean environment. It is difficult to convince a monkey not to fall in love with banana. It is difficult. That is the way the Nigerians are. Look at neat surgical operations going on. When we expose it, even to our own group, virtually all of them said it's a lie. It is not possible. But the video is here. It is happening. They say it's not possible. They are just saying it. It cannot happen. When it happened in South Africa, oh, it's not possible. They just said it. It cannot happen. But the flight was busy coming in, removing the people back home. Like that. It happened in the UK. When Obasanjo went there, he went there to lie. Bring the Nigerians back home. Why is it that Nigerians are so wicked to themselves? You leave your country as a leader of your country or the ruler of your country. You go to the diaspora to tell the host nation, wherever the Nigerians are, the host nation, you tell them, deport the Nigerians back home. And when they come back home, they get frustrated and they said, okay, let us make a protest so that the country will be good. They raise up Nigerian youths like Very Dark Man that will come out, Fino, and the rest. They will come out to support, and Mr. Ibu, the late, they will come out to support the evil system. They will support the evil system. When everything falls down, hook, line, and sinker, they bring, what's the name of that guy from the East? The preacher guy. Ebuko Obi. They bring Adeboye and the others to come and tell them about God. This is how foolish they are. With this, we are stopping this one here. Because it is such an irritating one coming from the Nigerian side. Very, very irritating. So we'll end that program there. We'll end it there. Let's continue with the other side. We have to continue with the other side. Yeah. I wouldn't put this. I wanted to put this. This has to do with Trump and Putin and the rest. But we are not going to go there. We are not going there. Let's go to this other side. I want to see the Ramaphosa side. Yeah. Now, this one on your screen here is Ramaphosa. This is an official Oval Office smackdown coming from Vantage. You know? Vantage. What happened? Huh? Yesterday we talked about it, but this is a well repackaged side, you know? They cut it a little bit. How many minutes? It's just 9 minutes. But I'm not sure that the whole 9 minutes is going to play. Huh? But let us let it roll so that you all can hear what happened at the White House. You know, we made mention of how Trump and his team, they like humiliating people. They did it to Zelensky. Now they did it to Cyril Ramaphosa. Or Ramaphosa. So let it go.
For SmackDown, and this one began with the dimming of lights. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is in Washington, D.C. Yesterday, he visited the White House. He was meeting U.S. President Donald Trump. But this wasn't some ordinary meet and greet. It was a full-blown showdown.
Everyone, it's a great honor to be with the President of South Africa, President Ramaphosa, and he is a man who is certainly in some circles really respected, other circles a little bit less respected, like all of us, in all fairness, like all of us.
We all like that.
The meeting started on a light note. Donald Trump and Cyril Ramaphosa met. They sat in the Oval Office, the TV cameras rolled in, there was some talk about trade and investment, even a squeeze of golf diplomacy.
Now I brought you a really fantastic golf book. Weighs 14 kilograms.
Oh, that sounds good.
And it showcases the golf courses in our country.
But then came the big question, a question about white genocide in South Africa. Ramaphosa took the bait. He did not hesitate. He answered the question.
What would it take for you to be convinced that there's no white genocide in South Africa?
Well, I can answer that for the president. It's for him. No, seriously.
I'd rather have him answer.
Yeah, I'd rather answer that. It will be.
Our president will respond to you.
Yeah, let me,
Thank you, Mr. President.
it will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here.
But Trump wasn't buying it. He wanted the lights dimmed and the TV to be switched on. Why? Because according to him, he had evidence. And he was about to hit play.
Let me see the articles, please, if you would. And turn the lights down. Turn the lights down. And just put this on. It's right behind you. Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. Yes, must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing.
And it wasn't just this video. Trump had footage of burial sites. He had pictures. He had stacks of news story clippings, all apparently showcasing white genocide in South Africa. Clearly, he came prepared for it, for a full-on confrontation, a ploy to corner the South African president.
Look, these are articles over the last few days. Death of people. Death. 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 Horrible death. Death.
But Cyril Ramaphosa did not lose his calm, and he had a very simple question. Where did Trump get his information from?
Have they told you where that is, Mr. President? No, I'd like to know where that is, because this I've never seen. But, okay.
And to support his case, Ramaphosa brought two more people, Ernie Els and Retief Goosen. These are not politicians. They're not members of his party. These are two South African golfers, and they bagged Ramaphosa's point. Yes, the South African leader knew what would appeal to Trump. In the game of perception, every swing counts.
I'm not going to be repeating what I've been saying. I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture, he would not be with me.
But there's another question here. Where did Trump get his information from? To understand that, let's go back in history. Afrikaners are a white ethnic group. They descended from Western Europeans. In the 16th century, they settled in South Africa. Many of them were traditionally farmers, so they were called Boers. It means farmers in Dutch. In 1948, South Africa's Afrikaner-led government introduced apartheid, racial segregation in the country. This ended only in 1994. That's when the black people were allowed to vote for the first time. Nelson Mandela and the African National Congress came to power. Currently, there are 2.5 million Afrikaners. That's around 4% of the population. Earlier, Trump gave a few members of the Afrikaner community refugee status. He said a genocide was taking place, so 60 of them arrived in the US and they were granted asylum. Then Elon Musk stoked the fire. He shared a video of a South African leader saying, "Kill the Boers." This fueled the claims of genocide. In fact, Musk went a step further. He said he wasn't allowed to do business in South Africa despite being a South African himself because he was white. That's what Musk said.
I have many friends from South Africa, but many of those friends are not, they can't go back. I have Elon is from South Africa. I don't want to get Elon involved. That's all I have to do, get him into another thing. But Elon happens to be from South Africa. This is what Elon wanted.
But you see, facts don't support any of this. There are no reports of genocide in South Africa. The country has one of the highest murder rates in the world, yes. Last year, there were nearly 77,000 murders in South Africa.
Did you hear that? 77, we even made a mistake and said it was 72. 77,000 murder cases in South Africa just last year, officially. We are not talking of the side runs. You can see them chanting it. When we say they chant such, people will say, no, it's not possible. But somehow, now, we are going to digress now. We are going to digress. You see the freedom, the agitation of freedom in Nigeria, with all the criminals that call themselves the Biafran people, fighting for legitimacy. How many of them could have gotten the video of the genocide, the ongoing genocide, happening in Nigeria? How many of them could have gotten it to the White House? Even before Vladimir Putin, how many? Or before Xi Jinping, how many? The answer is 0. The ongoing Christian genocide now happening in Nigeria daily, beheading of people. How many of them have gotten any of those videos and taken it to these places? Nothing. But when someone brings it out to talk about it, the same people that are victims of such will rise up and go there to say, no, that thing is fake news. It's not happening, that we are living good. Example of it was a Christian Association of Nigerian chairman, a pastor, a reverend, a church leader, went to Reuters interview, and they asked in US, they asked him about the ongoing Christian persecution in Nigeria. The guy said nothing like that is happening. That is fake news. Lo and behold, God punished him. He got back home. The following day, the headers, they came. The Islamic bandits, they came. They got the wife. They raped her almost to death. Then they mutilated her body with machetes. You see, but here is the Oval Office. Here is the Oval Office. They were able to get those videos in here. And for that, Ramaphosa was ambushed and grilled by Donald Trump with evidence. How many of such evidences have we been able to bring up? But when we bring it up those days, the idiots that call themselves DOS will say it is fake news. It's fake news. They discard it. Wherever Mazi Nnamdi Kanu goes to make any appointment, from behind the same DOS people that he was working with, we go there and say that man is lying. You see? You see how useless our people are. The one we talk about it, you see them get offended. Why are you angry that we are saying things out? You don't like it. You are talking too much. That is the only thing they can say. But it is happening. Look at Trump. Ramaphosa is there. Even Elon Musk was inside the room. Continue. You see Elon again.
27,000 murders. Only 8 of them were farmers. It's not clear if they were black or white. Either way, 8 killings is hardly a genocide. And a South African court agrees. It has dismissed claims of genocide in the country. Also, one of the clippings that Trump showed wasn't even from South Africa. What he showed as proof was not from South Africa. It was a months-old blog post featuring a photo from the Democratic Republic of Congo. So at this point, one might ask, is Trump just being a bully? And the answer would be yes, because this is not the first Oval Office ambush. He did the same with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. In fact, that was even more dramatic. You may remember this exchange.
Now, let's stop it here. We are done with this very broadcast, this very one now. We will be moving over to the next one. Because now we are winding it down quickly so that we'll be able to tackle other issues. You see, even now, the media is, quote unquote, in support of Ramaphosa. They said, oh, it was an ambush. Trump ambushed Ramaphosa because Trump did the same thing to Zelensky earlier this year, thereabouts. Yeah? That he did the same thing to Zelensky. Why won't he do the same thing to Zelensky? Why? You see how these people are formidable. You can all see how these people are formidable. But when it comes to our own, you see people being clever, looking for what to eat, as usual. Wait till we go chop, every now and then. The black man values his stomach more than his own freedom, his own liberation. Nnamdi Kanu was out there trying to ensure. Look at what they did to him. What's the name? NSAS. The protest coming from the Nigerian youth. The protest coming from the Nigerian youth was fucked up by the same youth. The protest came up again. They flew the Russian flag, trying to use it to draw international recognition so that people will look into Nigeria and solve the problem of Nigeria. Nigerian youth rose up, led by Very Dark Man, criticizing the people waving Russian flag and said they got paid. Very Dark Man vehemently called on Tinubu and the Nigerian army. This was the precise word he used. They have to crush that thing because they have paid some people. That's what Very Dark Man said. Today, the animals called Nigerians are celebrating Very Dark Man, a man that called Tinubu and the army to crush a protest. Is there electricity in Nigeria? The answer is no. A coup just recently happened in Cote d'Ivoire. The information came up. Some people say it's a lie. They are just saying it. I never argued. I never did anything. I just kept silent. You do know why? Nigerians are useless. It is pointless talking to them. Because they are the first ones that will come out to see a truth and say the truth is a lie. It is pointless. I've known them. We have been Nigerian for too long to understand the system. Once you see them talking, just leave them alone. When reality hits them, their brain will reset. Now, Very Dark Man and Burna Boy, they want to go to Burkina Faso to celebrate Traore, a man that survived over 18 lethal assassination attempts. They want to go there and dance. Oh, we love you. Your freedom is good. But in Nigeria, let us be slaves. Let them pay us so that we can see what to eat. Burkina Faso, the Sahel, they are rewriting the script. That the black man values freedom more than his stomach. But Nigeria, they are stuck with the old horse system. What is the old horse system? Food, the stomach only, and foolishness. and foolishness. A shame. Let's move over to this one quickly. This is what happened in Cote d'Ivoire. This video is like 14 minutes. I'm not sure that we're going to play it up to 14 minutes. What's the time? We have about, we just hit the 1 hour mark. And what else do we have here? We just have 2 more videos to go. Let's see if we're going to hit it and see if we'll be able to complete it so that we can face other sides. So let's roll this and let it play. Yeah.
Eye up a lion. That's an ancient African proverb, and right now something is happening in Ivory Coast that proves just how powerful united webs can become. On May 21st, 2025, social media exploded with reports of chaos in Abidjan. Videos of protesters flooding the streets, claims of internet shutdowns, whispers of military movements, allegations of coup attempts that could change everything. But then, silence. Major news outlets stayed quiet. International media looked the other way. It's just like someone pressed the mute button on an entire nation's cry for freedom. I'm Asongwa Luis, and this is the Strategic Lens. Today, we are going deep into what mainstream media won't. Today, we are uncovering the Ivory Coast crisis that has Western powers scrambling and African revolutionaries celebrating. Because what happened, or what they are claiming happened in Ivory Coast, isn't just about one country. It's about a domino that could topple an entire system of control that has been choking Africa for decades. Let me walk you through what we know and what we don't know. May 21st, 2025, reports start flooding social media. Thousands of Ivorians allegedly on the streets. Government buildings reportedly on fire. Internet connectivity issues across the country. Claims of up to 33 unalives between May 19 and May 20th. But here is where it gets interesting and suspicious. Why these reports spread like wildfire across X, Facebook and WhatsApp? Not a single major international news outlet confirmed these events. BBC silence, Reuters nothing, Al Jazeera radio silence. Now you might think maybe it didn't happen, but hold on. Let me ask you something. When has Western media ever been shy about reporting African instability? When have they ever missed an opportunity to show Africa in chaos? Unless this wasn't the chaos they wanted you to see. Unless this was the kind of uprising that threatens their interests rather than serves them. Because according to reports that did circulate, something unprecedented was happening. The Ivorian people weren't just protesting, they were celebrating the possibility of military intervention. They were allegedly welcoming a potential coup. When was the last time you heard Africans celebrating a coup? When was the last time you heard people took to the streets to ask their military to overcome their government? When? To understand what's really happening in Ivory Coast, we need to understand the perfect storm that's been brewing. 3 explosive ingredients have been mixing up in this West African nation, and the combination is proving deadly for those who profit from the status quo. Ingredient number 1, a secret military deal that nobody asked for. While Ivorians were going about their daily lives, their government was reportedly negotiating with the United States to host American drone bases near the border with Burkina Faso and Mali. Now think about that. Surveillance drones that are pointed directly to the revolutionary governments that have been inspiring African youths across the continent. Ingredient number 2, President Alassane Ouattara, the man who once promised to step down after 2 terms, decided the constitution didn't apply to him. 3rd term, no problem, exclude opposition leaders. That was easy. Install your brother as the defense minister. Why not keep it to the family? But then, the third ingredient was the catalyst that sparked everything. An American general's inflammatory statement that united Africans from Lagos to London, from Accra to Atlanta. April 3rd, 2025, General Michael Langley, head of U.S. Africa Command, walked into the Senate hearing and made a statement so provocative, so disrespectful to African sovereignty, that ignited a continental firestorm. What did he say, and why did it trigger such massive backlash that it might have contributed to the events we are investigating today? General Michael Langley looked at the United States senators and said these exact words about Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the revolutionary leader of Burkina Faso. Captain Traoré in Burkina Faso, their gold reserves are just in exchange to protect the junta regime.
Chairman, I see this and I don't mind calling them out, but Captain Traoré and Burkina Faso, their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime.
Now, wait. Captain Ibrahim Traoré isn't any African leader. Since taking power in 2022, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has done what many thought was impossible in modern Africa. He nationalized his country's gold mines, taking them away from foreign operations. He built Burkina Faso's first gold refinery, meaning they processed their own wealth instead of shipping raw materials to Europe. He survived multiple assassination attempts. He formed a military alliance with Mali and Niger, and he told the world that Africa's resources belong to Africans. When General Langley accused Traoré of misusing gold reserves, he was attacking the very idea that Africans can't manage their own wealth without Western oversight. The response was swift and thunderous. Protesters erupted in cities across Africa. The diaspora mobilized from Detroit to London. Even General Langley's ancestral village in Senegal sent a video message calling his comments a betrayal of his African heritage. But here is where our story takes an unexpected turn. Just weeks after General Langley made these inflammatory comments, guess where Langley decided to visit? Ivory Coast. April 24th to 25th, 2025. Less than 3 weeks after insulting Captain Ibrahim Traoré, General Langley is sitting comfortably in Abidjan, meeting with President Ouattara and his defense minister. Now, what do you think they were discussing? Officially, regional security threats, but sources suggest they were finalizing details about that controversial drone deal. American surveillance aircrafts positioned to monitor Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Now, think about the optics here. You have an American general who just accused an African revolutionary of corruption, now causing with a president who have been accused of electoral manipulation, constitutional violations, and blatant nepotism. What message does this send to the Ivorian people? That America supports democracy, or that America supports anyone willing to defend America's interests, regardless of how they treat their own people? But the Ivorian people aren't stupid. They have been watching what is happening next door. They have seen Mali expelled France and regain their sovereignty. They have seen Burkina Faso building gold mines and refineries. They have seen Niger forming alliances based on mutual respect rather than exploitation. They are asking themselves, why are we still hosting military bases? Why are we still sending our cocoa abroad for processing? Why is our president still hanging around with people who insult our African brothers? Whether or not a full coup occurred on May 21st, and remember, this still remains unverified by major news outlets. What we do know is that Ivorian frustrations have been building for months. When opposition candidate Tijane Thiam was barred from running using a 64-year-old law never used before. People noticed when protest was consistently banned or met with police blockade. People remembered when internet connectivity mysteriously suffered during political tensions. People connected the dots. The reports that did surface painted a picture unlike anything we have ever seen in recent African politics. Instead of people fleeing from military action, they were allegedly celebrating it. Instead of fearing the coup, they were reportedly welcoming it. Why? Because they have seen what's possible. They have watched their neighbors break free from new colonial control. They have seen that another way is possible. There is an African proverb: however far the stream flows, it never forgets its source. The Ivorian people haven't forgotten that they are Africans first, and they are watching as their continental family reclaims dignity, sovereignty, and control over their own resources. But here is what makes this potential uprising different from past coups in Africa. This isn't about replacing one puppet with another. It's about replacing an entire system of dependency with one of sovereignty. And that's exactly what Western powers are desperate to prevent. Now, I'm going to tell you why this story has been buried, why major media outlets have remained silent, and why Western governments are panicking behind closed doors. They don't want you to see this because it represents their worst nightmare: Africa united in resistance. Now think about a domino effect. Mali breaks free, then Burkina Faso, then Niger. Chad ends its military agreement with France. Senegal announces French bases must close. And now Cote d'Ivoire, supposedly France's most reliable West African ally, is showing signs of awakening. If Ivory Coast joins the alliance of Sahel states, if they kick out foreign military bases, if they start processing their own cocoa and controlling their own resources, what happens next? Ghana starts asking questions. Togo begins reconsidering those American drone-based proposals, the entire Western strategy.
Now, let's stop that one there. Because we have gotten the main point of what this young man's video is all about. We had to let it through for this long so that you all will have the understanding why the coup in Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, has suddenly received radio silence on major media outlets, from CNN down to Reuters, Reuters down to BBC down to Voice of America down to Al Jazeera, and so on. Why the sudden radio silence? It's because of the ripple effect it will cause. That other African countries will follow suit, more especially even Togo. You remember that we have been talking about Togo for a very long time. And Togo, on the flip side of reality, what brought Gnassingbé Eyadema into office was he was given $600 by France to assassinate Sylvanus Olympio, the former president of Togo. Eyadema collected $600 and shot the president dead. Then the West supported. A lot of people come out, so America is not involved. America is not like that. There must be something that is wrong with you up here. Because let us look at Syria of today. Syria. You remember the president of Syria right now? A bounty was formally placed on him. $10 million, dead or alive, by America. Today, America is signing deals with the same guy that they put a bounty on. America has no friend. America has no enemy. You can be an enemy at any second. What America is after is their personal interest. That is their goal. They don't care how many people die in your land. So it's high time we wake up to reality and know who is who. Never make America your friend. Never make America your enemy. Just let it be a strategic ambiguity thing. They are just there. We are not friends, we are not enemy, but just be there. You know, that is the way it should be. It's not the way we are seeing things now. They have killed the entire media outlet or outfits from announcing what has gone down in Côte d'Ivoire. Why they are trying to use a diplomatic backdoor to see if there could be any window of hope that will rise up there. You know? That is what they are trying to do right now. This other video is 9 minutes. Let's see. Let's see what happens.
Grew disillusioned, and in the shadows of the political towers, a movement stirred silent, calculated, and born out of decades of buried frustration. The Ivorian president, Alassane Ouattara, had tightened his grip on power after a controversial third term. Many saw it as a betrayal of the democratic spirit the country had fought so hard to nurture. Prominent opposition voices had vanished, some jailed, others exiled, and a few found lifeless under suspicious circumstances. The ruling party, protected by a well-funded elite military force, believed they were untouchable, but power, like dry leaves in Harmattan winds, is never truly secure. In the north of the country, in the rugged terrain near Korhogo, a name had resurfaced like a myth: Colonel A.I.R, a former Special Forces commander dismissed under mysterious circumstances 5 years ago. Gay had gone underground. Some said he had fled to Burkina Faso. Others believed he had been killed during a skirmish in Mali. But Gay was alive, and not just alive, he was preparing for war. Colonel Gay had spent his years in exile forging unlikely alliances with disillusioned Ivorian officers, Pan-African revolutionaries, and rogue units from Guinea and Burkina Faso. He studied coups, the swift one in Mali, the defiant one in Burkina Faso, and the people-driven resistance in Niger. He did not want a war, he wanted a surgical strike, a message, a cleansing. It began on a Tuesday night under a moonless sky at 2:47 a.m. The first explosion shook the Presidential Guard's barracks in Abidjan. Simultaneously, communication towers across the capital were sabotaged. The internet went dark, electricity blinked across key neighborhoods, and as the city stood confused in the darkness, columns of armored vehicles rolled silently from the outskirts, not with insignias of the Ivorian army, but flying black-green flags stitched with a single white star. In the heart of the capital, a rogue unit led by Captain Ndrai Kuadio, once a national hero turned whistleblower, stormed the state broadcaster. Within minutes, the screen went black, then flashed again with a chilling declaration. People of Côte d'Ivoire, this is not a coup against the nation. This is a resurrection of the republic. The tyranny ends now. What the regime had not anticipated was the reaction of the people. Rather than panic or resistance, thousands poured into the streets of Abidjan, Bouaké and Yamoussoukro. Some waved Ivorian flags. Others chanted, "Afrique se lève," Africa rises. Women threw water at the feet of passing rebel soldiers. Blessing them, youth climbed onto tanks with fists raised. Markets opened not for business, but for solidarity kitchens. The coup had found its legitimacy not just in arms, but in the hearts of the oppressed. But the regime did not fall overnight. President Ouattara was evacuated by helicopter to a secret location, guarded by foreign mercenaries and members of the presidential elite unit. From there, he issued a defiant message. This nation belongs to the Constitution, not to bandits. France condemned the coup within minutes, calling it an assault on democracy. The African Union sat on the fence. ECOWAS threatened sanctions. But Gay and his commanders were prepared. They broadcasted shocking evidence of mass surveillance, foreign manipulation of elections, and economic exploitation. They showed warehouses of gold and cocoa hoarded by foreign companies while millions starved. The world began to see this not as a coup, but as an emancipation. As the days passed, Gay declared a transitional Pan-Africanist council. He called upon revolutionaries across the continent, from Thomas Sankara's old allies, to the youth movements of Kinshasa, Nairobi, and Johannesburg, Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso sent a powerful message of solidarity. Guinea's Doumbouya offered logistical support, and in the streets of Dakar, Bamako, and Yaoundé, people marched in solidarity. 3 days after the Transitional Pan-Africanist Council seized control, the world's power corridors were in disarray. In Paris, an emergency meeting was convened at the Élysée Palace. President Emmanuel Macron slammed his fist on the oak table as his defense minister laid down reports of French companies losing access to key Ivorian resources: cocoa, coffee, and most alarmingly, offshore oil. This is worse than Mali, worse than Burkina Faso. Ivory Coast is our last domino in West Africa, the minister said grimly. If they fall, so does the CFA franc. The IMF froze all aid. The World Bank halted ongoing projects. The European Union issued sanctions against Colonel Gay and his transitional council, calling them a threat to regional stability. American media labeled him the new African strongman, but Gay was unmoved. He had prepared for isolation. In a secret speech broadcast from an undisclosed location, he addressed the nation and the world. They have frozen our money, but they cannot freeze our spirit. They have cut their funding, but they cannot cut our roots. We are the sons of Gbagbo, Sankara, Lumumba, Nkrumah. We will not bow. But while the revolution captured the imagination of the masses, cracks began to form in the military coalition. In the city of San Pedro, an ambitious commander named Major Adama Sise, who had joined the uprising late, began hoarding weapons and rallying troops loyal only to him. Rumors swirled of a counter-coup. Sise had been a student of Western war academies, trained in Paris and Washington. While he supported the initial fall of Ouattara, he believed Gay was too radical, too dangerous, and he had connections. Whispers said he was in communication with foreign diplomats and multinational executives desperate for a stabilizing force. Colonel Gay, warned by Captain Ndrai Kouadio, moved swiftly. In a surprise night operation dubbed Le Coeur du Serpent, the Heart of the Serpent, Gay's elite Pan-Africanist unit stormed Sise's base. There was no mercy. Dozens of high-ranking officers were arrested. Sise tried to flee to the Liberian border, but was caught in a swamp, hiding in reeds. When brought before Gay, he smirked and said, "You think you've won? They will never let Ivory Coast go." Gay replied coldly, "Ivory Coast was never theirs to keep." With internal betrayal crushed, Gay knew he needed to transition from a military uprising to a legitimate civil movement. On the 7th day after the coup, under the great baobab tree in Yamoussoukro, the charter for the rebirth of Ivory Coast was unveiled. It was a revolutionary document, a fusion of indigenous law, Pan-African philosophy, and grassroots democracy. The charter promised abolishment of the CFA franc and adoption of a new West African currency, redistribution of land owned by foreign corporations back to local cooperatives, free education and healthcare modeled after Sankara's policies, the removal of French military bases within 60 days, the formation of a new People's Assembly, half of which would be composed of civilians from rural and urban communes. People across the continent wept with pride. Old freedom fighters came out of hiding. Youths flooded TikTok and WhatsApp with clips of Gay, calling him the Panther of West Africa.
Now, let's stop this one here. We have to stop it there. You all can see what's going on and why there has been radio silence all over major news media outlets. The West, as it stands now, they are struggling to see what they can be able to save in the light of this pressure. That's what they are struggling to do right now. The rapid gunshots and everything that is going on or that has gone down in Côte d'Ivoire and the seizure of power there has changed the political dynamics of that region and by extension, I believe, the entire West African zone, and it will rub off on the entire continent. But still, we still have a lot of people that are talking trash. As usual, who are the trash talkers? The Nigerians. They are the ones talking trash. It is not possible. Why? A whole lot of them are saying it has happened, but a couple of them that have some sort of radio voice that can lay legitimacy to what is going on, they are busy saying nothing like that ever happened. This is it. This is what is going on in Burkina Faso, in Côte d'Ivoire.
In West Africa, where politics often dances on the edge of fire, a regime long thought untouchable has finally crumbled. The world woke up stunned. At 3:12 a.m., military vehicles rolled through the streets of Abidjan. The Presidential Guard was overwhelmed in under an hour. By dawn, the flag flying above the palace was no longer the same. And just like that, another chapter in Africa's long war with dictatorship had turned its final page. But this wasn't just any coup. This was Ivory Coast, once the darling of post-colonial West Africa, a country the West praised for its stability, while quietly ignoring the creeping authoritarianism beneath. For more than a decade, President Alassane Ouattara had ruled with an iron grip camouflaged as democracy. For the elites, his regime brought profits. For the people, it brought fatigue, fear, and silence. Now, silence had turned to marching boots. Fatigue had turned into defiance, and the dictator had finally fallen. Ivory Coast military coup, the headlines screamed. Another dictator is down. But this wasn't just about one man. It was about how he got there, who protected him, and why the military finally said, no more. They say power corrupts, but in Ivory Coast, power also forgets how to leave. In 2010, Alassane Ouattara was hailed by international observers as a beacon of progress. An economist with a polished accent and elite connections, he emerged from the shadows of international banking to claim the Ivorian presidency. But behind that Western Polish lay the seeds of something far more dangerous: entitlement to rule. When his second term neared its end, the constitution said enough. But Ouattara had a different plan. In 2020, he made the move that would define his legacy. He ran for a third term. The justification? The new constitution of 2016 had reset the clock, a clever manipulation, a dangerous precedent. Protests erupted, civilians were beaten, opposition leaders were jailed or exiled, dozens died in clashes. But the vote went forward and Ouattara won again. The West, as always, offered muted responses. Stability is important, they said. Let's maintain peace, they urged. But peace for whom and at what cost? In reality, Ivory Coast was becoming a pressure cooker. Opposition parties were crippled. Security forces acted as private enforcers, journalists vanished, and the economy, though statistically strong, favored the elite, leaving the youth jobless, angry, and forgotten. For many Ivorians, their democracy had become a prison in disguise, and the man at the center refused to hand over the keys. But something was shifting, in the barracks, in the villages, even in the diaspora. Enough is enough. That whisper became a storm, and the storm was coming for Ouattara. When the people are silenced, the army listens louder. In Ivory Coast, the military has always played a double role, both sword and shield. Under Ouattara, that role grew complicated. After the post-election civil war of 2010-2011, Ouattara consolidated power not just through elections, but by restructuring the armed forces. Promotions were handed out generously to loyalists. Rival officers were retired or reshuffled. Paramilitary units were merged under presidential command. But loyalty built on fear is never permanent. Over time, cracks began to form within the ranks. Young officers, those who had watched their parents lose jobs, their brothers migrate, their neighborhoods decay, began to ask uncomfortable questions. Why are we guarding a palace while people sleep hungry? Why are French troops still on our soil? Why are we arresting students and activists instead of protecting them? The older generals, many aligned with the regime, dismissed these doubts. But the younger ranks didn't forget. They watched, they waited. Then came Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. Each time a corrupt, foreign-backed president was removed, the message grew clearer. You can take back your country, even from a suit and tie. In 2022, a classified memo circulated within the Ivorian military warning of ideological contamination from Burkina Faso's revolutionary wave. It was meant to stop something. Instead, it sparked something in secret meetings, in border camps, on encrypted apps. The idea began to form. We can be next, not for power, not for glory, but for restoration. A new generation of soldiers had made up their minds, and they were no longer just whispering, they were planning. Coups don't begin with gunfire, they begin with silence. By early 2023, something felt different in Ivory Coast. The usual performances continued. Ribbon-cutting ceremonies, presidential speeches, foreign dignitaries shaking hands and issuing grants. But beneath the surface, unease was rising. Opposition parties were
Yeah, you all can hear that the ideology started growing. How did the ideology grow? They saw it happen in other countries in the Sahel, and they believed that they can do the same. So that is what led to this build-up. It's an ideological warfare. The soldiers earlier on, a couple of years ago, started warning people of such ideology that is dangerous. Once they take that step, they're gonna die, and so on and so forth. But it continued. Ouattara entered the office 2010 as a president. Give and take, his tenure ended the 2 terms. He changed the constitution to run for the 3rd term. A dictator that practiced pure nepotism, mounting his family members at the helm of all offices, in charge, and in the military also, loyalists, not based on credibility, but based on loyalty. But in all, it failed. Try this one in Nigeria. Your brother will sell you out, the same mother, the same father. If not, your father will betray you and sell you out. These are people that have seen the reason why they should be counted as humans, not Nigerians. These are the people, when they hear our message, it challenges them to think, and they will say to themselves, hey, we can make it. After all, this guy, or perhaps Ancient Idu, could be saying the truth. There's something wrong. We need to change the status quo. Try this in Nigeria. I'm not even talking of the people at the top. I'm talking of the people near you, within you, immediately. They will strike. That is how useless and stupid Nigeria is. This ideological concept came up once again during the time of Nnamdi Kanu. I believe it should be 2010. Nnamdi Kanu battled it all the way till today. The more you try to battle it, to let people know how to think positively, the more the same people are willing to sell you for a penny. In fact, they will sell you on pro bono, free of charge, because they are looking for what to eat. How can you tell me that an election will happen in Nigeria and they give people $1 to support a criminal in office, and Nigerians accepted the $1? Hey, share this broadcast, let it go viral. Hey, I know that a lot of people will come out and say it's a lie, it's not possible. I don't care about that, because Nigerians are useless. Naturally, they are useless. Remember in London, when Buhari was the president, and things went so bad in Nigeria before Tinubu entered, Buhari made a trip to London. Lo and behold, there are Nigerians living there that have stayed there for decades. When I say decades, I mean above 10 years, above 20 years. You know, they are British citizens, Nigerians. Lots of them. They gave these people just 20 pounds, 20 pounds, to come out and raise placard and said Buhari is the best thing that happened to Nigeria, that God bless Buhari. Nigerians, British citizens living in London, they paid them $20 each. The video is out there. $20. That is to tell you that Nigerians are useless. $1. You see them voting Buhari. You see Nigerian graduates, thousands of them, doing multiple thumbprints, electoral fraud, supporting Buhari. Then when we speak, a Nigerian idiot, an animal called a Nigerian graduate, came out to ask us, what have you done for the country? And I told him, wait for us to come, since you are useless to the core. Nigerians will not eat. They will not have 3 times square meal. But they will use that money to buy data. to come out and canvass for their oppressor, either the politicians or the pastors. They use it to canvass for them and support them. Then when they come online and see you say the truth, they are the ones that will fight for the oppressor online. They are the ones that will make up fake stories and post around the world to tell the world that Nigeria is good. But meanwhile, Nigeria is a hellhole, not just a shithole, a hellhole. Yeah, it's Abidjan. The youth, they got fed up. They mobilized. Western media is covering it up to this moment. They have done ever since the coup issue came out, how many media published anything about it? Till today, nothing. Everyone is radio silent. They are acting as if nothing, but meanwhile, they are trying to mobilize militarily to see how they can storm Côte d'Ivoire to restore the dictator, so that from there they can plan on how to eliminate the entire Sahel. That's what they are doing. But it's too late. Because, like we used to say, thank God for social media. We will socially integrate the truth in the mindset of everyone. Come rain, come shine. So, with this one, we'll be moving over to the next one, which we believe should be the last one. We believe it should be the last one for today. Then after that, we'll say hasta la vista. Say bye-bye. Let's see, who is this? Who the hell is... Okay, this is the Obama one. We are not going to do Obama today. We'll leave him alone because we have a whole lot of things to do or perhaps to consider. Oh, yeah? So let's see.
Ivory Coast had concluded with President Alassane Ouattara's fall. But what came next was far more dangerous than a military takeover. It was a reckoning. At 4:36 a.m. on the second day of the uprising, a classified image leaked. Ouattara, alive, seated under military custody. Calm, dignified, but undeniably defeated. Not in exile, not executed, but held by his own army. The photo shattered the international narrative. Ouattara had not escaped, as Western media had claimed. He was in Ivory Coast, and he was being asked to do the unthinkable. The man who had risen to power with IMF credentials, backed by France and praised by Washington, was now at the mercy of a younger generation of nationalist officers, led by a name soon to shake every embassy in Abidjan, General Sékou Doumbia. He wasn't a politician, he wasn't a celebrity. He was a disciplined, silent soldier with one goal. Ouattara came into power with the West. Let him leave power by rejecting it. It wasn't revenge. It was symbolism, a declaration to Africa and the world that the age of puppets and puppeteers was over. For decades, Africa was forced to choose between silence and survival. But now, a former president was being asked to choose between legacy and loyalty, and the world held its breath. Every revolution has its shadow general, until the day he steps into the light. Before the coup, General Sékou Doumbia was almost unknown outside military circles. No media appearances, no leaks, no flamboyance, just a clean record and quiet movements through the ranks. But within the Ivorian army, he was something else entirely, a symbol of dignity in a force bent under political weight. Born in Korhogo, raised during the turbulence of the Civil War, Doumbia witnessed how politics turned soldiers into pawns and generals into bodyguards for presidents, not protectors of the people. He studied military doctrine in Mali, strategy in Sudan, and insurgency response in Burkina Faso, not through Western programs, but through alliances built across sovereign African defense academies. He refused training invitations from France. He returned every bonus offered to suppress protests, and he kept asking the question many feared to raise: who is the army really serving? By 2024.
Now, we are going to wind down the program here. Maybe this other part, we might talk about it tomorrow. We have gone way over the 1 hour 30. And tomorrow, if we're going to talk about this, we'll highlight Traore and the response he gave to Obama. We needed to put this as the icing on the cake to make it clear that something went down in Cote d'Ivoire and there is a regime change. A regime change has happened in Cote d'Ivoire, but the entire Western media is radio silent because they want to play the hanky-panky to see what they can salvage just to redeem their image. America is stunned. They are in shock because they don't know what to do. They were all carried away with the White House ambush of Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa on how to humiliate him without knowing that their biggest hold in Africa has fallen. That is Cote d'Ivoire. It's remaining Nigeria and Kenya. But we are not looking at Nigeria. We are looking at Kenya. Because Kenya should be the pressure point that they need to deal with William Ruto. He is the same as Ouattara of Ivory Coast. Get this message, share it. Let it re-echo in the entire Sahel. And if the Kenyan people hear it, if they want to act, let them act. But if they want to be radio silent like the graveyard, let them remain so. It is said that a slave that does not rebel doesn't deserve pity. And so it is, and so shall it be. Okay? A politician in America said, you cannot put a snake in your backyard and expect it to bite your neighbor only. That same snake that is biting everyone right now, it will soon get into Kenya and every other slave nation in Africa, including Nigeria, including Ghana, including Togo. The wave is on, and it's on for real. So with that, from us, from here in this studio of Asian to Do, we say bye-bye. We'll see you in the next one. Remember, share this, share this, share this. Let it get into the Sahel. Let it get into the mind of young Africans. We'll use our voice to make a difference. The voice is far mightier than the gun. And that is what we are going to do. Thank you all and remain blessed. From us here in the studio to you out there, we say bye-bye.